Well, thanks for making the time to come on the show.
Thank you for asking me. I'm
Yeah.
happy it finally worked out. I
Yeah.
am crazy right now with trying to
Just put out
find
a
some
special.
yeah, and then like because I'm living in Vancouver right now and the timing is all weird and then I was just in
Right.
Toronto and now I'm yeah.
Is this your first time living in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Let's start with that. Like,
Yeah.
why did you choose Vancouver? Like, how long were you in Toronto and kind of what made you want to go that way?
Yeah, well, it is not as cool as not
You're
as
like, a
cool of an answer
job.
as yeah. So my partner got a job in Vancouver. I will say this though, we've been together for almost 5 years, and I knew he would be applying for jobs. He just finished his doctorate. He was applying
Oh,
for jobs.
nice.
Yeah, jobs kind of like all over. And I was like, I'm ready for a move anywhere that I can do stand up, really. So,
Yeah.
like, said a hard no to a couple spots. Um,
You're like,
like,
I don't know about
yeah,
Saskatoon.
exactly.
I
Uh,
don't want to go to none of it.
Totally. Ottawa, like I was like, you know what? Ottawa's got a couple clubs, and then I was like, I just don't know if
Don't do
that's the
it.
move.
I'm here right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I secretly
Oh my
want to
gosh.
leave.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
working at
Ottawa.
it.
I like Ottawa though.
It's nice to visit.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you live in Nepean, it's like you kind of gotta have a car and like you gotta,
Sure.
you know, there's
Yeah.
uh, there's plenty of times where I want to get some type of food and it's like, oh, everything's closed.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Fuck
It's
yeah,
just like
that's
living
like
in a small
my
town.
totally. That's like the bar for me. I need convenience at all times, I think. That's
Yeah.
what I like about a big city.
I've realized that about myself is that I'm all,
Hmm.
oh, I'm supposed to be in a big city. I'm actually like a lot
Sure.
happier when I could just walk to everything. Everything's like
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
So
I'm like, there's three banks within like a 10 minute. Like, what bank do I want to go to today?
yeah, I could tell
Who's
two of them
gonna
to fuck off.
exactly? Who's gonna like judge me
Fine.
less today
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for what's in
Who's
my
who's got Black Friday bank deals on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When I asked you about the one word, did you think of anything when I asked you about that? About like either a descriptor or like a word that means a
Yeah.
lot to you?
So like I guess too, because this kind of I've been just in the prepping of my album and now putting it out and the timing of that. I so my album is called Messy Girl, and so I think my word has to be messy because
Nice.
I've been thinking about that a lot. Kind of, having a couple options of album titles and yeah,
I
I
like the plastic on the couch too of the the album cover. That's great.
yeah.
So you gotta have a
Man,
solid album cover.
yeah, thanks. That's like, if anything, I'm like at the end of the day, I enjoyed like doing a photo shoot
More
for
than the
like
recording.
pretending that I was like Ariana Grande for an afternoon,
Yeah, 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 totally.
a pop star or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about messy that like you gravitate more towards that word and why is that like a thing that's kind of front of mind for you other than the
Yeah,
special?
yeah, so I think like a few of my jokes kind of the like inspiration behind writing them was kind of coming from I'm like the youngest in a family I have four, or there's three, I have three sisters, there's four of us, and I'm just
Wow.
like the younger, like the baby, the messy one. I'm like,
Okay.
and I mean messy, and like I never like clean, never learned to clean
Do you think
growing
it's because
up.
you had other people just that were able to just pick it up and you're like, okay, whatever, I'll just
I
live
think
like that.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, my sister actually was like famously paid to do all my like like we shared a
Hilarious.
room and she would like do everything. I wish I like don't think I knew about for a while, but now my mom like loves to tell that story.
She's like, I was paying your sister
Yeah.
to clean your room.
Yeah, exactly.
A little side gig. She's like encouraging you to be messy too, because
Totally.
she makes
Yeah. I'm like,
more.
I think she what? I think like
She's
when
like,
I
that
look
looks like a
back, she
2 hour
was
job. I don't
Exactly.
know. I bet you could eat Cheetos in the bed.
Yeah, right. Get crumbs everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Everywhere you can.
She's like playing with a Dyson like it's a gun.
Yeah.
Just checking it out. Like, okay, all right. Let's go. Likes to
Weird.
clean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it does.
I want to know too, like, what was your start in comedy? Because that always fascinates me with different people. If you haven't already
Hmm.
clued in, I'm like hardcore into the nerd side of comedy, the sort of like
Yeah.
pretentious, let's talk about our art form
Right, right.
side to comedy. But I really do like that because like for me, like starting comedy was like a really scary thing, but it was something that I
Totally.
wanted to do so bad that I just got past that. And I think for a lot of people that are maybe scared of even just like doing public speaking, it's kind
Yeah.
of nice to hear people's stories of like how and why you started.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by that as well with everyone. I wanted to be an actor. Um Still do.
Hook me.
Why am I not on Degrassi? I'm
Hey, you're right above
yeah.
California, so.
Yeah, I know that we'll see. My big break's coming. I want to be an actor. I took some like Second City courses. Um, like to be honest, I'd kind of always been a fan of stand-up in the way that like I remember, yeah, I mean everyone I think remembers like listening to their first,
Hmm.
discovering it as an art form, but like I wouldn't say I was like a die-hard stand-up comedy fan.
Right.
Um, like for I went I my first show I went to was Dane Cook in high school,
It's pretty sweet
which is like
first show.
actually, yeah. Um, but I did an intro to stand-up at Second City. And I kind of looked at it as a way to like, oh, maybe I can like, because I like performing, this could be an in to like performing more.
I like
Yeah.
practicing for
Yeah.
acting in a way. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just like being able to like be creative, like have more opportunities to be creative and like challenge myself that way.
Right.
And then I like took the course with like a buddy of mine. We like right after we're like, oh, we like this. Started doing like the open mic circuit. That was like over 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy to
Yeah.
think back at it. So what were your like right before you've written out your material, maybe you've practiced it a bit in front of the class? Because I took one of those Second City classes
Did you?
too.
Yeah. A lot of people
Yeah.
did, eh?
But you know
Yeah.
what's funny is I did it like several years already into doing comedy because I was at this stage of like trying to humble myself where I was like
Sure.
I don't know everything about comedy, like let me just like go see what they're teaching to people and maybe it'll,
Hmm.
if anything it'll be a good chance to write a new like set
Totally.
and have people that I can bounce ideas. That's really what I wanted is
Because
somebody to
it's,
bounce ideas off of,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's so hard to like find that time. Like people always ask me,
Yeah.
like, what's your writing schedule? Like, I'm like, blah, I have
And
no
whenever
idea,
something's
So
funny.
for sure. So I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $300 to have like a set like chunk of time
It's
to,
essentially what it is. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
totally. So like what was your first set at like an open mic or was it like a graduation show?
The graduation show.
Was the
That was my
graduation
first
show?
set.
What were your nerves like before that?
Oh my, I remember like being so fucking
Sweaty
nervous.
palms.
Yeah, I remember like having to pee like 30 times and my sister being like, "Are you okay? We keep seeing you run to the washroom." Like,
She's like, I think you have
like,
a
yeah, exactly.
UTI.
There's some cranberry juice. Yeah. I um I just yeah, I vividly remember being very, very nervous and like I still actually I was like, hey, it's only 5 minutes, but I think I need a water or like a beer on stage or something. And still to this day, because that feeling of like your mouth going completely dry when you're so nervous. I'm like, even if I'm at like an open mic where I get 3 minutes, I don't want to risk
Mhm.
that. I don't like, I need a
Yeah,
glass of water.
that moment is
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Because I remember
oh,
like getting there and being like, oh, everyone can hear yeah.
you're just like
It's like, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. God, yeah. I remember being high and getting dry mouth at the underground when I performed there for the first time. I had put
Yeah.
so much pressure on myself that I was like, here it is. We're
Yeah,
gonna do your
yeah.
first set of the underground. Like I've always wanted to do a set here.
Right.
And then just my legs shaking and my mouth is just bone dry. Like,
Totally.
oh, it's the worst.
And like even if you didn't want to be high, you're
You
high
got
there,
high. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Regardless, you didn't even need
Yeah.
to smoke it. It was all contact. But
Yeah.
what did you feel like when you finished that? Was there like excitement? Were you like that was horrible and then it took time? Like people are
I
differing after that too, right?
I definitely felt like it was a huge accomplishment. Like I felt
Amazing.
really good. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, let's celebrate that I just did 5 minutes of stand. Like I remember feeling better than I should have,
Right, right,
probably.
right. It's like when somebody
Yeah.
has a good night at karaoke, they're just like
Exactly,
on
exactly.
one.
Yeah, and it's so funny this guy that I used to work with, like at a Jack Astor's at that time when I was
So you can write your name
um
upside down?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Nice.
You have to train. He came out to the show like I was just like, "Oh, I just did this course and we have like a graduation and I ran into him like a few years ago. He was like, "I didn't ever think you would still do
Still
stand up.
doing.
Like I thought that was just some I don't know, like
Yeah. Like jumping out of a plane thing where it's like a bucket
yeah,
list.
exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
what he thought, but whatever, he was supportive, so
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's always funny when people are like, you still when you've been doing it for at least 10 years and people go, you're still doing that. Oh, good for
Yeah.
you.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's this point where like I don't know about for you, but like I had people that were like, I don't know, like like are you sure you want to do that? Like you
Yeah.
know, just be out all the time, like doing like telling jokes or whatever. Like, is that really gonna go anywhere? And then you get to a point where you've been doing it for so long that they're like, that's cool.
Right?
They just completely move past their
For
opinion of it. They're
sure.
like, all right, man,
Yeah.
that's just like a thing you
I
do, I
ha
guess.
totally just got to get through that.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so
yeah.
I
That
just like I
rejection phase.
yeah, exactly. It's good rejection therapy. I
Which
it's
my
really
next question
good.
too was like,
Yeah.
do you have like a good bomb story? Speaking of rejection, I'm great at segues.
Yeah, perfect. I definitely like I mean one of my worst bombs ever was like I invited a lot of people that I know to a show.
It's always
And I
dangerous.
just like got on stage and I was so not feeling myself and like digging my just consistently digging myself out of a hole of like not feeling funny. Trying, I think like I was at the point too where I was putting pressure on myself to do like all new shit. You know, I was like, oh, they deserve
Yeah,
like all my new stuff. And then I was like, none of this is like worked out.
yeah. It's none of
And
it's been
what
tested.
did I think I was doing? Yeah. And just like afterwards, like wanting to run away
Yeah.
forever. Yeah. Where was that? Oh man, it was like kind of early on. Trying to remember. Some bar on like Queen West had a show. Anyways, I don't know what it was,
Wow.
but
So what did
yeah.
you learn from that? Never do new material in front of your
Yeah, for
friends.
sure. Like not put on the put pressure on yourself for,
Yeah,
you know, to give them what you think they want. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, they definitely don't want to hear them. You also think everyone's memorized all of your
Oh my
jokes and
God. Yeah. You're like,
right?
people are probably so tired of
There's
hearing
I
this.
always I always felt that way when I started like performing more and more at the corner. I
Oh.
was like, these guys see me do the same material all the time, and then they'd be like, wait, I don't know a single joke you've ever told. Like
No,
no
because
one's
they're
listening.
thinking about their shit
Yeah,
and doing the
exactly.
exact same thing that you're doing
No
of being
one's
like,
like
everyone hears this. I
yeah,
remember one time where that, like, because I have that exact same like fear and worry. I
yeah,
remember one time where it actually came to fruition, but it didn't happen to me. I won't even name the comics, but
sure.
it was like a Wednesday at the corner, and guy does his set, same set he always does, because it kills, like it
Yeah,
does well. And then
yeah,
he comes off stage, and it was like a packed 20 people were in this room,
right.
packed for
In
that
intimate
little
space.
corner. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very intimate space. 20 people, it could fit 18, and they squeezed 20
Yeah,
in there, you know? And then this guy's just like kind of berating him in the alleyway, being like, oh, why are you doing the same stuff? It's a Wednesday. Like, fucking try some shit out. Like, do, just talk to the audience. Like, do something else. Like, man, what a wasted opportunity. And he's going on and on and on. And the guy's like, it, I want to do well.
Totally. Yeah,
He goes like, what? It's a full audience. Like, I just want to do the stuff I know is gonna work, so
for
that I feel
sure.
good, and then I'll go do the new stuff at a place that doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
because it's
I
like
know
you want to give people still paid money for the tickets. It's not like the
for
show is
sure.
free.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, 100%. I will go to a show thinking I'm gonna try some stuff, and if I see it's like, oh, this crowd deserves my like showcase set, like
yeah.
they're getting that. And yeah.
And then
And
when that bombs, you're like, oh Christ, who
oh
am
fuck. Well,
I?
it's funny. I like for a little while was like, oh yeah, these are my best jokes. And then like I've been doing this for 10 years. Like one of my best jokes is about like looking like a little girl. And I'm like, I am in my 30s. Like
Yeah.
that's like not that funny. It's like I'm like balding or something, and people are like, ah, we can see you're no longer getting away with that joke. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
everyone's a pedophile in here. Like,
They're like, calm down, lady.
yeah,
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 I know
yeah.
it totally. I'm just like, what? For myself, my thing is always like, why is this boy so gray? Like, he looks
Yeah.
so tired. And I'm like, at a certain point, there's enough wrinkles where you go to buy alcohol and they're like, can I see your. Ah, never mind.
Totally. Yeah.
The guy literally did that to me. He was like, oh, can I see your. And then he looked at me and he's like, oh,
And
never mind.
he
And I
really
was
looked
like,
at
I
you.
said, what? What do you mean? And he pointed to the gray on his head and he was like, I see you. And I
No
was like,
kidding.
fuck. I was like, okay.
Shit.
I guess no kids have gray on the side of their head.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess not.
what was I gonna
Yeah.
say about we were talking about ch
I
like changing your material.
yeah. Well, it is so hard to yeah, to gauge with new and old and
Oh,
yeah,
that's what it was.
yeah, that
Adding new material.
pressure.
Yeah, yeah. That happened to me, I was gonna say, where I was like, I was doing the same set here for whatever, a couple of years since I've been here, and then I
Yeah.
added in a new joke, but kept like sort of the same structure, and maybe moved something around. And another comic was like, "That was the strongest set I've seen you do, man. That's great." And at first I was like, "Oh, thanks," and then I was like, "Hey, you've seen me do a lot of
Yeah.
sets. Why
No,
didn't you
man.
say, hey, man, that kind of sucks. You should work on that."
Right, right, right. Yeah. There was something missing for
Uh,
years, but I
Oh,
couldn't put my finger on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that was great.
Oh, it's so funny to like when people know you really well too,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like, yeah, I've like a friend in comedy who like will be like, you missed this part of the punchline. That's my favorite part. And I was like, really? I did not think that was working. And they're like, I've told my coworker about that, like
Yeah,
that
it's
tip.
like nobody
Like,
shares these
why
things with
didn't you
you.
tell me
Yeah,
that
yeah,
until like,
yeah.
yeah.
But if that should be the new rule of this next generation of comedy. If you like someone's joke, go tell
Yeah.
them. If you don't like it, go tell them why you don't like it.
Totally tell them the specific reason that it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
working. I've like had this conversation recently with people when I started out like after everyone said I would say good set, right? Like
Right. I had to
like
stop
just
myself from doing that
I
now.
know and now I'm like, oh, okay,
Bad
no, that's like
habit.
really not
It's
helpful
bad.
when
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
thing that happened at the corner as well. Like,
Totally. I'm
that was
thinking
when I
of the corner
stopped.
right now.
That was when I stopped telling people good
Yeah.
set because I told a comic good set and he looked at me and he went, "No, it wasn't."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like,
I
"Yeah,
just
you're right. It wasn't. I don't know why I
ate
said that."
shit for sure. Yeah, like you're watching people figure things out sometimes. I remember like watching a
Right.
comedian who'd taken like a little break and they just kind of struggled. And after I'm like I really like offering some kind of constructive criticism, like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
you're that is a great premise, or like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
totally. You have to. Because I
I'm
will
just
like
cracking
just
open a Diet
naturally.
Coke really
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
Sorry.
go for it. Um, because I like love comedy so much that when I hear someone say a joke, I'm trying to like almost finish it in my
Sure,
head, like
yeah.
of how I would finish it. And not even on purpose, it's just the way my brain works. And so sometimes I'll think of something that I think is funny that I want to give them to add into it. But then I also don't want to come across as like, who's this fucking guy? Like, you know what I mean? Coming over here telling me how to write my jokes.
Yeah,
So
man,
I'm always like, hey, I don't want to like tiptoe my way
totally.
over, you know?
I think that is always welcome. I love when people help, like, give
It's the
me text or
best. I
something. I
love
think
it.
that's,
Yeah.
I love it. I have a funny story about that. When I started out, um, after a set, a guy came up to me and I didn't know he was a comedian. I thought he was just like in the, and he gave me, a note, and I was like, oh, this guy just gave me his fucking number
You're like this
after
piece of shit.
watching. Yeah, I was like, ugh, gross. And then I like opened it and it was like a really amazing suggestion for my joke.
That's great.
Right. Oh, I thought I got into comedy to be hit on, but I guess I'll try and get
I was trying. It was it's like
I'll
the
try.
exact reverse. Like they always say, like men start doing comedy to meet women, like to
Yeah.
do it at their. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, me too, asshole. Like
Right?
you're like, that's what. What do you mean? Like we all just want to be the center of attention because we love comedy.
Exactly.
Sure.
Oh, it's only cool when guys do it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
can
yeah,
also
yeah.
be a
It's the reverse
Mm,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I love that. Like even like small things like there was a comedian that I saw at Absolute, Brad Doran, I think is how
Oh
you pronounce
yeah.
his name.
Yeah.
He was doing this time capsule bit, and when they opened the time, like he said, he's so old that like the time capsule that he put at school is now being reopened, and like
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin the joke, but he was just
Sure.
like, there was a word that he says at the end of it, and I was like, and the crowd laughed, like it got a laugh, but I was like, hey, from back here, it sounded like this. So it might be confusing to some people. Have you ever tried saying like this word instead? And it's one of those things where it's like, try it. If it doesn't work, go back to what you're doing. You know, like
Yeah. For
that's
sure.
totally like the space to do that too. But
Totally. And because you're like when you're writing a joke sometimes, yeah, it just like makes so much, it's so
you might
clear.
like the
The pa
alliteration
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
think that that word is funny, but it just might not flow properly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I think it's always welcome. I mean, I guess some people could it
Take it
could
the wrong
be
way,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah, or like really not useful. I've
Yeah.
definitely been given tags where I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, you probably could have should have kept that to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's like,
It's like dildo
we-
bit. Try saying this. You're like
yeah, yeah.
dildo bit. When the fuck do I talk about that?
Exactly.
They have like their weird way of looking at like your material is how they like labeled it in their notes.
For sure. For sure. But whatever,
Uh
it's like you're obsessed with me, I
that's the way
guess.
you always take it too.
Yeah.
With with your album, are you planning on like killing this material, or are you of the because there are a lot of comics who, especially with the first album too, will then like now tour on that same material or
Hmm.
like do keep some of it and maybe workshop some bits that you think like are great and can actually grow a little bit more, or are you of the perspective of like I've done it, I've recorded it, I'm just gonna write new stuff now?
Yeah. I would say most of it I am looking to part with forever.
Good.
Yeah, most of it. I and this was like kind of a good reason. Like I wanted to put, I thought that these jokes were ready to go on an album, but I am like I just feel like I've moved past it. Like I don't even, I don't like saying them anymore. I don't feel connected to them.
Right.
For the good majority, um I did because I moved city, like I moved to a new city. I've been doing more of them now. Be kind of just
Fair.
yeah, like going to new clubs and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do some like tried and true stuff.
Hmm.
But I'd say over the course next couple of months, I'm hoping to just have all new material. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Even if I want to do a little tour, I think next summer, like out here, I want to do like more the West Coast and
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that it's kind of about like I'm writing a lot about my move and about,
That
that
whole
this
next
like
phase of your
state.
life.
Yeah, yeah. But there were some jokes I kind of just discovered when I was really putting my album together. Like a few that I was super excited to tell on the night of my album. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to burn these yet, you know? So
Yeah. You're
yeah,
like, I gotta hold this back. That's what I keep
exactly.
thinking. I was like, if I go to put together, I probably have the material, but it's just about putting it together, right? So I'm like, if I had to put it together, I would still want to have like an extra 30 minutes
Yeah,
so that when I do burn the hour, it's like I'm at least halfway there for the next thing,
totally.
you
For the
know?
next, yeah, I know.
But I agree
It's
with you with like you almost have to just like let life play out so that you
yeah,
can just write about what you're going through right now anyway. So unless your material is super subject oriented, things that don't really change, like travel or
right.
relationships, what all that kind of stuff. But if
Yeah,
it's topical about your life, it's like you gotta kind of live life a little bit for stuff to happen.
for sure, for sure. Which, yeah, that's interesting. Like, I'm trying a little less to. Well, it's fun. So like I just went back to Toronto for the weekend and like put in my album, and then I saw a lot of friends and a lot of people who aren't in comedy. And they're like, "Oh yeah, like I have a joke that's like, "Oh, I quit doing drugs." And then like someone's passing around a joint. They're like, "Oh, well, Steph quit doing drugs." And I'm like, "Oh, you guys really think I'm telling you the truth all the time?"
Yeah,
Like, or like
yeah,
everything, or someone before has been like, "Well, Steph's, we know she's so horny." And I'm
yeah.
like, because I write sex jokes, you know what I mean? That means I'm
You're like,
horny.
you're like, it's kind of just, I think that stuff's funny.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think I've always had like a unique perspective in telling it, and
Right.
everyone's horny, like, like what?
That's so
Um,
funny.
yeah, so I've been thinking a lot, like, and especially after this weekend when people were like, "Oh, yeah, well, that joke, when did that happen?" And then I'm like, "Okay, maybe let's stop writing from
Overanalyzing.
my, yeah, or like just be like, so here's a story about a guy I work with, like just take myself out of the joke completely, or I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't work that way because I had a few jokes. I mean, it surely does for some people, but where it was
You gotta
like
really sell it though.
totally, it was about a friend, and then it was like, my friend did this crazy thing, and then the second that I changed it to being about me,
Hmm.
it worked. It's personal, and people connect to it, so.
Yeah. Well, whenever I'm in a relationship, any like story is like, oh, my friend totally did this one time.
Totally. Yeah.
Because it's just like, why else? But you try to do that on stage, it's like, nope, it's got to like come from your perspective entirely because like you're the thing that's in front of them that's talking about these
Yeah, you're
experiences.
like selling it. So,
Yeah. It
yeah.
feels gossipy if you're just telling stories about
For
other
sure,
people.
yeah. It's like
I was like, is that guy okay with you saying all this on
right?
stage?
Yeah.
It's pretty
That's like
intimate
my
details.
next album's just like like 50 different people that I know in there. Yeah.
And just call it other people's stories.
Yeah.
Just retold through the eyes of you.
Yeah, that's like
Steph's
shady,
version.
man. Yeah.
That's a funny title. Other people's stories, and then in brackets, do
Yeah,
Steph's
it's
version.
Steph's version. That's great.
Do a Taylor Swift style album.
That's
That's
funny.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, so there's one question that I always ask all my guests, and the simple boiled down version of it is, what advice would you give to your younger self? But I like to personalize it a little bit more. Like I want you to think of you at 15 years old and like who you were at that time, what you were going through, who your friends were, like where you were. And the phone rings in your house and it's you now on the other end. You can give yourself a piece of advice based on what you know now. It's not going to impact your life whatsoever. Like your life is already set in motion. But
Yeah.
maybe 15-year-old Steph, you can offer some valuable advice.
Wow, I have such a beautiful image right now.
Nice, cool.
I like my house when I was 15 and I miss it. I'm gonna cry.
That's how I like to end all my podcasts. Make my guests cry and then good
Yeah.
night, everybody.
Um, man, I would like, and I don't even know how to phrase this, but I think like what I
Tell your
struggled
parents to
with.
not sell the house.
Yeah, exactly. To tell my dad not to
Yeah.
die.
Oh, fuck. I just put you at the
Um,
worst possible
yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
Uh,
That's okay. I think like I cared so much about what people thought about
mm,
me at that age, and I still struggled with that for a little while, and like the image that I wanted to keep. And I just would say like do it for yourself. Like you're funny and believe in yourself and you know, the like yeah, all the people that you think matter don't.
This is so true. This is great advice.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I really like struggled for a while to like think I was funny. And then I realized it was because like I was surrounding myself around people who like wouldn't allow me to be myself, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, just like carve out a path for yourself and trust it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice too, because so many people get stuck in that trap of like being
Yeah,
around trying to like if you feel like you're like sort of have to put on for the people around you or like you
totally.
feel like inauthentic or like the things you're saying are maybe other people's ideas that you're like just spouting out, like that's the
Oh
worst
my
place
God,
to be
no,
in.
you're totally, that's exactly how
Yeah.
I feel like I like lost years of my life.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd
you
stay
know,
right there with you. Same thing happened to
I'm
me.
just like, I'm from like London, Ontario, where like, I think it was just, um, people like, especially I wanted to like impress like, dudes who played hockey.
Sure.
Who I was like, yeah, they're the coolest people in the world, you know what I mean? And then was like, yeah, you think it's funny when I say this? Okay, I'll say that. And then I'm
Uh,
really quiet around you guys, you know, like that kind of that's one example of the type
sure.
of, you know, just yeah, just it's inauthentic. And
Yeah.
it took me so long to feel yeah, and then to feel like I'm being authentic. And then now like I look at people and you know, um I'm like, yeah, I just put out this album and there's a lot of like sex jokes on it. And for some people, that's scary to, but like, you know, everyone else
You're just
is
like, here it is.
putting their fake life out on social media and this is who
Right.
I am, you know?
Yeah.
So
You should have
who's
released it on
authentic?
OnlyFans.
Yeah, seriously.
The first soft release. We have to, as creators, just start taking over OnlyFans and be like, we're doing a like a Patreon style.
A hundred
Here's
percent.
here's my comedy, here's my jokes. If you want to see my
Yeah.
set tonight, just subscribe.
Right.
Take back control.
Yeah.
Here,
I think that'd do well.
I'll share this here too for people to check out your album. It's called Messy Girl. It's on Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere. That link is in your Instagram bio, which is
It
at
shares Instagram bio
Steph
and
Baby
TikTok bio,
Neal,
I think, as well.
TikTok bio too. Yes, Steph underscore baby underscore Neal. All those links are always in the description. Steph, thanks for making the time to hang on the
Thanks
Johnny
for
Rogers show.
having me.
Yeah,
This was
hopefully
so
we can
much
push some
fun.
people. I want people to go
Totally.
listen to your album.
Hell yeah. I so appreciate it.
Perfect. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I'll send this over to you as soon as it's up. It should be, let me think, probably the 20th,
Yeah,
maybe.
apologies that my name is not my name.
It's okay. I'll change the size of the screen so we won't
Yeah,
even see
okay.
it.
I feel I'm professional in
It's
that
all good.
regard
No
currently.
worries. I'm not keeping that label in. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All
Cool,
right.
cool.
See you, Steph.
Okay, bye, Johnny.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.